probably have 2 kids going to college. I've got a bonus riding on whether or not you're any good. I've got 2 bosses yelling at me to increase my performance, and you're worried about whether you learn spreadsheets? Next. Said if you want to write the cover letter, you need to write it in the term of, here's what I would do for you. I'm a great team player. I would help you accomplish your goals. If you've got bonuses or KPIs or metrics, I'd love to learn what those are to help you be successful. The entire cover letter had to be about the other person. He doesn't give a crap about you. Right? And it's not meant to be harsh. We all live in our own words. So even learning whiffum, what's in it for you, learning how to rephrase things in a way that makes it about the other person. We're still trying to get what we want, but we're just thinking about how to go about it differently. All right? So that's number 2. What would you do if you tried to explain what you do? So I'm going to ask, what is this the editing class? Somebody tell me what you guys do. Like, is anybody work, or is anybody interviewing for work? Looking for work?
Yeah.
You are, all right. What's your name?
Hillary.
Hillary, tell me what you do, please.
I do the final rewrite of the story.
Okay. Anybody else want to tell me what they do? There's no right or wrong answer. You guys can...
You tell stories.
Tell stories. Okay. Who wants to participate? Here, come here real quick. Oh, this will be fun. Wait, hang on. Okay, sit down. All right, good try. I'm going to do this. Here's a point to this. All right? I'm going to knock a song. I'm singing a song in my head. I want you guys all to tell me what I'm singing. What song is it?
Don't know.
Exactly. Star Spangled Banner. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? Here's the point. When I'm in that song, I'm a rock star. In my head, I hear it perfectly. Like, what do you mean you don't understand? Here, can't you? Here, let me play it again. This is what every one of you do when you leave this room and tell people what you do. They have no clue what you're saying. In your head, you're a rock star because you live in the bubble of what an editor means or a storyteller, right? I could sit here in my world and talk in acronyms all day long and you would have no clue what we're talking about. But in our head, we're rock stars. We hear it perfectly. So the goal is not to leave people dazed or confused about what you do. It's how do we get people to help us in a way that makes it more efficient. And one of the ways, again, this is a quasi-trick question, not a trick question. What are these people doing? Climbing. That's what most people think, right? I think they're rappelling down. Climbing up a mountain's hard, rappelling down's a little bit easier. Right? So the point of this is, if we're trying to get somewhere in life, whether we're looking for a job, whether we're looking to get producers, whether we're looking for financing, it's easier to find people at the top and work our way down than it is to start at the bottom and work up. Does that make sense?
You mean when you're looking for people to contact?
Anything. Whether I'm looking for, like for us personally, we're always looking for funding, so there's certain investors we've got management teams, we've got advisors, there's always people we're looking for, and it's better to start at the top if I can than to try and start at the bottom, especially in large organizations. Right? So the goal becomes, how do I figure out who I need that can help me further what I'm doing? Whether it's looking for a job, whether it's looking for financing, it doesn't matter. The technique I call is a tornado technique. All right, this one will get a little bit visual and a little bit fun. Tornado technique basically can be used to isolate anything you want. Up here I've got financiers, producers, talent, it doesn't matter. How many people have seen a tornado? A couple? All right, cool. Here's the trick question, I'm warning you in advance. What's the most powerful part of a tornado?
The eye.
The stuff coming out.
The stuff coming out?
Yeah.
Oh, we got a bunch of people guessing.
Yeah,
debris.
that's the word.
So here's the thing. What's your name?
Sasha.
Sasha, thank you for participating.
You're welcome.
There is no eye in a tornado. That's in a hurricane. And the eye of the hurricane is actually the calmest part. So that was a really trick question because it's wrong twice. But I appreciate you helping because everybody gets it wrong, and that's what's fun about it. No, the most powerful part of a tornado is the little tiny tip that touches the ground. If this tornado spins up in the air, if it never comes down, if that tip never touches the ground, there is no destruction. So the idea is, how do we become very powerful in a positive way? How do we come down and sequence down to figure out exactly what we want, where we can be powerful in a way that's positive? And that's what the tornado technique is. It's a psychological step. It's called isolation of faces. It's the way our brain sequences information down. All right, and I'm going to walk through it. There's about 5 steps to it, then I'll give you guys some good examples, but this is the crux of what will really help you. Number 1 is, most people don't care what you do or they don't understand it. Right? That's what we were just talking about when you guys were giving me examples. Like, most people don't get it. They either don't care or they don't understand. We have to make them understand and we have to get them to care. So the way we do that is, number 1, there's an emotional value of what you do. All right, so I'm going to talk and I'll give you some examples for us, like with companies, but this could be if you're looking for work, could be anything. There's an emotional value of what you do. Something emotional that makes sense. People make decisions emotionally and defend them logically. We need to figure out what's emotional about what you do. Could be you're a great storyteller. It could be, that you help the editors become more successful. There's something emotional. Within there's certain industries you work in. Right? So if you're looking for a job, there may be certain industries you want to go in. If for us there's certain people we want to deal with, there's certain industries that we go into. Within the industries, there's companies by name. Right? So the way our mind works is, if I say, oh, I do this, it's very broad. If I go industry, our mind collapses down. If I tell you companies, our mind collapses down even more because we may recognize some of the company. Within those companies, there's specific people by title that we want to do business with, and there should be 5 people that you want to meet right now no matter what. Right? And I get people all the time, they're like, oh, I want to do deal with Disney. Great, who? Well, Disney. Disney's got 87,000 employees. Who? I get entertainers coming to me, oh, I want to be represented by CAA, I need an agent. I'm like, which one? Well, CAA. I'm like, you got 1,300 agents, they're specialized. Which one? The guy that owns TV is different than the guy that owns commie for TV, which is different than movies. Like, if you don't know who the person is you want to work with, it's not my responsibility to figure it out. So this technique, it works both ways. It's, how do we figure out, hey, what's our value? What do we want? Who do we want to meet? Let's isolate down so other people can learn how to help us. And I'm going to give you guys an example. So I'm going to explain a company we have called Ronistar. And I use this one all the time, and it's fun, all right? You guys, you can try and read it. It's purposely meant to not be able to read. So I'm going to explain it to you, and I want you all to listen to me and figure out how you can help me. You ready? All right, Ronistar. We're an ASP and an SAS. We're a proprietary platform redeploying assets using electronic currency inside a large organization. We sit over an SAP or an Oracle FI system, but we're not integrated in. We're an implementation or change management system, so we're an ERP initiative for the company to be able to redeploy internally. Anybody know what we do? Like, I'm up here knocked in, right? If you're in that space, if you're in enterprise software, you go, man, that is cool. That's like 1 in 1,000 people that get that. So how do I translate it in a way that if I really wanted you guys to be able to help me, and if you wanted to, I have to frame it in a way that you can actually help. Give you something tangible to hold on to. So listen as I go through this now and watch how the frames change in your mind. Watch how pictures will start coming up. Here's what Ronistar is. All it is simple. We help big companies save a lot of money. Companies are always trying to save money. We just help them save money. We work in industries like automotive, manufacturing, government, public schools, really big industries. In those industries, we're working with companies like United Airlines, NASA, Chicago Public Schools. In those big companies, we sell primarily to the CFO or the Chief Financial Officer. And right now in LA, we'd love to meet the CFO for State of California, Los Angeles Public Schools, they're trying to save money, Los Angeles City, anybody like that. Now let's think about it for a minute. Let me back up. Watch how this works, guys. Watch what your mind just remembered. Even if you don't care when I leave the room, you will remember this. What does Ronistar do? We help companies save money, and I'm looking to meet CFOs. That's it. All this other stuff is irrelevant. right? When you leave this room, you know in your mind what you're doing, nobody else does. You've got to find a way to translate it and say, oh, here's some nuggets that somebody can hold on to figure out how to help. But even before that, you have to do the research to know. I meet people all the time, they're like, oh, please help me. I'm like, who do you need? Oh, well, I don't know. Like, if you don't know the top 5 people, I can't help you. But I can help you figure out how to get there, all right? So let's do another one. This one's a little tougher. I'm still working on this one. This is the technology we're about to launch maybe Monday. This has been about a 3-year journey. It's an ordeal. We have a company about to launch called Magma. I'm going to show you guys this and then one more just to show you the range of how it works. So basically, we've got a cool company called Magma, stands for Magazine Moment. It's Instagram on steroids. Any of you guys use Instagram? This is Instagram on steroids. It basically crushes Instagram. But our focus is industries like music, sports, entertainment, big brands, things that are really cool. Companies we have, Participant Productions, Lowercase Capital, Atom Factory, Starbucks, Red Bull. Again, guys, you see what's happening is all I'm doing is giving you names and you're like starting to put it together. Within there, we work with the Chief Marketing Officer, the Social Media Director. And directly right now, we're trying to meet Jeff Skoll, Chris Sacca, Troy Carter, Ashton Kutcher, Scooter Braun, Ryan Seacrest, people like that. Here's the point. Remember when I said you've got to know who you're asking for and you can use it for anything and ask for really big people and be specific? Does anybody know who Jeff Skoll is? Participant Productions. See, I tied them together. Look. Jeff did, he came out of eBay, but he's got Participant is, what all have they done? Syriana, Kite Runner, Charlie Wilson's War, Contagion. I mean, they do huge social cause movies. Right? Chris Sacca, actually a buddy of mine now, he's got Lowercase Capital. Chris was on Shark Tank the other day. Big investor. Troy Carter, manager for Gaga. Ashton, you guys know Scooter, was manager for Justin Bieber, Ryan Seacrest. Here's my point. I know the exact people I need to meet for my company to be successful, and I don't have a problem asking for it. But you have to build a story in a way that people aren't just going to go, oh, well, I know Scooter. It's, oh, you've got Instagram on steroids. Shoot, Scooter might like that. Right? So if you're trying to figure out what to do, this is how you do it. Here's the last one. Is this making sense a little? Again, I'm flying through it, guys. If I was looking for a job, I would not run around saying, I'm an editor, and who do you know that needs editing services, or whatever the case may be, because people don't know what an editor is. They don't get it. Right? I use this example. If I was graduating from international marketing, e-commerce, right? Pretty simple one. Here's what I would say. I just graduated. Really what I want to do, I want to help companies sell globally in emerging markets like China, India, Latin America. I want to help companies sell more products internationally. That's really what I want to do. I want to work in industries like transportation, fashion, manufacturing. I want to work with companies like Uber, Gilt, TaskRabbit, Alibaba. If you know any companies like that. Within there, I'd really love like the Chief Marketing Officer or maybe the Director of Human Resources. And if you happen to know, I'd love to meet these people. Travis Callanan, Kevin Ryan, Eric, Jack Ma. You might know who Travis is? No, I met Travis. CEO of Uber. Kevin Ryan, Gilt, DoubleClick, Eric, CEO of TaskRabbit, Jack Ma, CEO of Alibaba. See guys, if you want to figure out how to meet somebody, this is an easy way to do it. Right? If I were in entertainment and I wanted talent and I wanted A-listers, I would build my story and go after the top people. If I wanted directors, I'd build my story and go after the top people. I was walking in, Spielberg and Lewis, right, on both sides? Right? Or not Lewis, Lucas.
That's right.
The guy that built Lucasfilm Limited, Charlie Weber's a friend of mine. He was the first guy George hired. Right? Spielberg, I was just with Spielberg 2 days ago. He's doing some VR thing down in Playa Vista. I've never met the guy. I'm not in entertainment, but I'm around these people. But if I wanted to get to them, I could because I know how to sequence things in a way that people will help me. Okay? But people aren't going to just help you unless you figure out how to help them first. So, deflect, defer, and disclose says, this is going to move into a little bit of kind of networking techniques. Do you guys do any networking events or parties or things like that? This will really help you. Deflect, defer, and disclose says you never answer what you do first. If at all possible, never answer. But you can't not answer, because then it's really bad. And here's what I mean. I start picking up people. This is really, what's your name?
Katie.
Katie. So Katie and I are at a networking event. You're going to role play with me. I've got my little name tag on, says Steve and me, Big Bamboo. All right, and when you meet somebody, what do you think's the question that always gets asked when you're networking? Like, hey, what do you
Two.
All right, so ask me what I do, Katie.
What do you do?
Well, what do you do? Well, that's called combat, right? Like, well, I asked you first, asshole. Wait a minute, all right? But the way our brain works is we have to answer a question. Think of it like ping pong, right? A question got served to me, and I have to figure out something and serve it back to her. So if Katie asks me again, watch how I answer it, and watch what it does psychologically. Ask me again, Katie, thanks.
What do you do?
Oh, we've got a technology incubator and kind of do some cool stuff. Anyway, Katie, what about you? So you're at USC, what do you do there? You don't have to answer. No, it's okay. I'll let you off the hook. Here's the point. Deflect, defer, and disclose says if somebody asks me a question about what I do, I answer in a way that doesn't give them any information. Oh, here comes a question. Go ahead.
Well, my first reaction to when you reflected it back directly, what do you do? I mean, if someone did that to me, I would just leave.
Exactly.
Is that what you want people to do, just leave?
No, that's what I'm saying is I would never say, what do you do? That I wouldn't go, what do you do?
Oh,
That was to prove that's not the right way to do it. The right way to do it is to answer it in a way that the brain thinks you answered it, but not really answer it. Which is why when Katie asked me, what do you do? I said, oh, we just run a software incubator, we do technology, but tell me more about you. So the brain thinks I answered the question. Right? I gave the brain enough information that it thinks there's an answer there, and now I'm directing questions back, where now I'm back in control of the conversation. Right? So you can't just say, well, what do you do? Because then it's combat. But you answer it in a way that's soft and frilly, oh, hey, I just graduated from USC, or oh, I'm moving into the entertainment industry, but tell me more about you. People love talking about themselves, and especially at networking events, your job is to gain control of that conversation. Right? So deflect, defer, and disclose says don't answer first if at all possible. Direct the conversation back. Right? Be genuinely interested in the person, trying to find out more about them. Lead the question, and then use the tornado technique in reverse. This last point, guys, is going to help you immensely, especially if you hate wasting time or wasting conversations, which I hate both. All right? So a lot of times when I meet somebody and I'm out, especially at a networking event, oh, what do you do? Well, we do software and anymore. Tell me more about what you do. That person will go on, and they're talking, and in their head they're rock starring, and cymbals are playing, man, they're just marching to the band. And I'm like, I don't get it. And rather than forcing them to explain it and going down a path, I actually reverse the tornado technique in my conversation with them. Right? So if I met somebody, again, we'll pick on somebody here. What's your name?
Andrew.
Andrew. If Andrew and I met and Andrew's telling me all the great stuff he's doing at USC and editing and Norm, I'd be like, Andrew, okay, stop. Hang on for a second. Like, let's say he's got a company, all right? And I'd say, that's fine. Like, with your customers, what do your customers love about you? Like, what's the coolest thing about what you do? And I would look for an answer of something that's cool about what he does. Be like, all right, what industries are you trying to go into? Like, are you trying to expand your business? Oh, like, what are your top 3 industries? And I'd figure out those industries. In those industries, like, who are your customers? Like, what are your top 4 or 5 companies that you work with, or who are you trying to get to? Oh, well, Disney's one of your customers. Okay, cool. Who do you sell to in Disney? Like, which department? I'm going to ask questions in reverse to sequence him down to figure out if he does something cool, if I can help him. I can't help him unless I know what the company is, who he needs to talk to, who his wish list is. So I can get the information out of somebody in 60 to 90 seconds that'll take them 9 minutes to try and explain to me, and I still won't understand it. So I'm going in reverse. What can I do to help you? How does it work? What's your customer? What's your industry? Like, who are you trying to get to? Who's your wish list? And that's why I know when I started, I ask people all the time when I'm going through this, well, who are the 3 people you want to meet? Who are the 5 people? Oh, well, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. Okay, well, great. Any road will get you there. Oh, well, I can help anybody. Great, there's 4 people in the corner. Well, no, not them. Well, you just said anybody. Right? I mean, people are bouncing around in the world wanting people to help them, but they aren't giving us enough to help them. So reverse tornado technique basically says, let me ask questions in reverse to figure out how to get somebody down to see if I can help them. Who are they trying to meet? And that starts building what I call referral currency. And it's psychological. Again, some of this is psychological jujitsu. All right, so if Nate and I are talking, and I start asking him questions, oh, what do you do? Who are you trying to get to? What I'm not going to do is the following. Again, so I may have to preface this as I go around. Right, what was your name again?
Hillary?
Hillary. So this is not the right way to do it, Hillary.
Mhm.
If Nate and I are talking, like, is there somebody, like some company you want to meet, or somebody, like
Yeah.
somebody, who?
Ryan Murphy.
Cool. No idea who that is, but we'll figure it out. But anyway, if we're talking and I'm asking him, oh, like what industry and what company, and he says Ryan Murphy, what I'm not going to do, follow me, Hill? Not going to do is go, oh my God, I know that person. Oh, you should meet this person. What I'm instead going to do is I'm going to make a mental note and go, oh, he wants Ryan Murphy. All right, let me keep talking to him. Who else does he want? I'm going to try and come up with 3 or 4 or 5 names or companies or opportunities of ways to help Nate. And mentally I can get to about 3, sometimes 5, then I have to start writing them down. All right? But I'm not going to jump right in and interrupt his flow of thought. I want him in a creative mode as I'm leading him through the conversations. And if I can come up with 2 or 3 or 4 names, I'll write them down and I'll say, okay, here's 2 or 3 or 4. Do you have anybody else? Like,
Yeah, like Bad Hat Harry, that production company.
Okay. This is cool. I don't know any of these people. I might, though. I did this the other day, and somebody wanted to meet Kat Bondu from the LA Ink guys, and I know her partner. It's just the most random thing when there was a fact. Anyway. So if I go down and I could come up with 3 or 4 names, and this is good, like with Nate, I may not have somebody, but a lot of times I will. I'll come up with 2 or 3 or 4 names. Here's what you do. This is referral currency. This is psychological jujitsu. It's called a referral burden. Let's say, hypothetically, I did know the people Nate wanted to meet. I'd say, okay, hey Nate, this is great, man. I appreciate your time. So remind me when we're done talking to introduce you to a couple people that come to mind. Here's this person. Here's what they do. Here's this. I would tell him the 3 or 4 people that I came up with that I'm going to try and introduce him to and help. And then I'm going to say the following killer word, which builds the burden. It says, okay, now let me tell you what I do. Here's what happened. Let's build the sequence up. Tornado technique. I know exactly who I want to meet. I just met Nate. I have no idea what Nate does. No clue what he does. Versus Hillary, versus Katie, versus Sasha. I don't know what you guys do. For me to spill on you everything I'm doing makes no sense. This is what I call the slasher in LA. The slasher, right? What do? I'm a model, actress, writer, producer, director. I've got a web series. Like, pick one. Please pick something. Why? If I know what Nate does, I can then position what I do based on his background. I can frame what I do that's more relevant to Nate that may be different than Sasha or Katie or Hillary. Right? But he's got a burden now because the way our mind works is if somebody gives you something, we want to give them something back, even if it's a thank you. So we're building that burden on them to want them to help us, but we're trying to help them first. That's why all this builds on. What's in it for you? Nate, let me figure out how to help you. Tornado technique, I know in my head, but I can't help you unless I know what you do. Okay, let me ask you the questions. Now let me tell you what I do, and I can sequence down to make it more relevant when I'm talking to somebody. All right, if I were looking for work, I wouldn't tell anybody what I was looking for until I learned more about them, based on where they worked, what they knew, who they did, things like that. If you do this properly, then you end up, this is where it gets into a little bit of the recipe side. This is a little pedantic kind of word for word. I get referrals all the time. I mean, I have thousands. My database is 17,000 people, I think. I've got notes on all of them, when I met them, what they were wearing, who we talked to, who referred me to them. Seth made me pull it up on screen and show because it was like crazy. But you learn a lot about getting referrals, and actually there's a sequence of calling. Now this one to me is kind of funny. I learned to do this years ago. I taught sales training for 6 years, financial services. I read about 350 books. So a lot of this is just me condensing all this other crap down into 10 techniques so you guys don't have to read a bunch of garbage and gobble and figure out between the lines. But if you get good at this, you can end up getting names of people to call. Years ago, I used to call all the time. And then I moved into emailing all the time. right? And I email, there's some people I've emailed 4 or 5, 6 months in a row trying to figure out how to meet them. And then what I realized is everybody emails and nobody calls anymore. So now I pick up the phone and half the people answer the phone that you would think never would answer their phone. And the reason is nobody calls them anymore. So this sequence of how to call a referral works like this. And again, there's some psychology in this, so pay attention to what happens. Who wants to play along with me? What's your name?
Kiara.
Kiara. That one's cool. If I called you up out of the blue, again, Hillary, this is the wrong way to do it. Kiara, phone's ringing. You're going to look at the phone. Phone's coming through. It's a 312 number. You don't know what it is, but you're going to take a chance and answer it. And you're going to answer the phone and say,
Hello?
hey, Kiara, this is Steve and Meade. How are you? Listen, I was calling you because I got... Does that ever happen to you guys? Like, you look at the phone going, should I answer it? Hello? And whoever it is just dives right in. You have no clue who they are or why they're calling or why you answered the phone because you know with caller ID you should have never answered it because they're not on your phone. Wrong way to do it. The sequence works like this, and it has to be done specifically. If you pause at any point, the mind will shift gears on you and you're done. If I call Kiara, right?
Mm-hmm.
And say, hey, Kiara, my name is Stephen Meade. If I pause, what's going through her mind? Right? Like, what's going through any of your mind? Like, who? What? Why? Do I know you? What? So you can't pause. I was given your name and number by Norm over at USC. Pause. It's like, Norm, why would Norm give my number? He's not supposed to give my number out. What's going on? So it's, hey, Kiara, my name's Stephen Meade. I was given your name and number by Norm over at USC. Did I catch you at a good time? And that phrase, did I catch you at a good time, moves it into her being forced to make a value judgment of whether Norm has enough credibility for her to talk to me. Has nothing to do with me. It's all, does Norman have enough credibility for her to take my call? And what she'll say is either, yeah, you know what, you caught me at a good time, I've got a minute, or she may say, no, it's really not a good time, because again, she answered the phone not knowing what it is. And all you say is, great, is there a better time I could get back to you? But the whole thing comes down to the credibility of the person giving you the referral, but you can't pause. It's, my name is this, I was given your number, did I catch you at a good time? If you do that, it's about 6 to 8 seconds. The mind transitions through very quickly, and you force them to make a decision in a split second to take your call. Okay? No pause though. And then if Kiara says, yeah, great, you called me at a good time. Great, specifically, here's why I'm calling. And again, if we've done our tornado technique, if we know enough from Norman about what Kiara does, if we've got enough in her background, we can at least specifically set the phrase of conversation and not ramble on about stuff. Right? It's about being specific. It's about being very isolated and targeted and focused and knowing more about the other person if you can when you talk to them. So calling a referral helps. This one's good as well, and this one builds on some techniques later on. It's learn how to make an introduction. All right? Again, if you guys have done networking events, this happens all the time. I'll pick on Nate because he's wearing a hat and I like the Illinois because I'm from Chicago. What's your name?
Rob.
Rob. The worst thing that happens, and this may have happened to you guys, is, hey Nate, you guys should meet. You and Rob should meet. You guys should talk. Right? That's what happens at a networking event, and you're like, I got a lot to talk about, but like, give me something. Right? So an introduction says, hey Nate, this is Rob. Rob works at 20th Century Fox. He's super cool. I think he knows the guys in the editing department. I know that Nate just graduated with Norman, and might be something interesting. He's got a degree in editing, and I think you guys would have something cool to talk about. All you're doing is you're setting the table based on a common point for both parties to talk. Right? Again, what this is doing, though, getting back to building referral currency, is you now have just created an introduction for two parties who now feel they owe you something. Right? Again, this isn't manipulative, but it's kind of. But we really want to help people. I'd love for these two guys if they can work out, because then I get a lot of favors. There's a lot of things that I can call in this town that I've helped a lot of people and not put my hand in the middle, but we're doing it because we want to help other people. We want them to be successful. So when you learn how to make an introduction, here's this person, here's Katie, here's what she does, here's this person, you guys should talk. And you're establishing a mutual point of introduction to at least set the frame of reference for people to talk. Right? And there's a big difference in here. I have refer versus recommend. Right? And you guys may not have even do it. I do it so subconsciously now when I was using the example between Rob and Nate, I said, hey, I just met Rob, just met you, guys should talk. Refer to me means I just met this person, but they're doing something cool, I think you should talk. Right? Recommendation means I've known Norm for 10 years, I'll recommend him, I'll stand by what he does and hope he doesn't screw up, but I'll stand by the recommendation of putting him in front of somebody. Refer means I just met Hillary, she just graduated, she may or may not be good, I don't know, but she seems cool and you needed an editor, let me at least put you two together. So people ask me all the time, they're like, oh, well, what do don't you care about your credibility? And oh, what happens if something in a deal goes bad? People are adults. I frame it though in a way that my credibility is not impugned if I set it up as, hey, I just met this person, but they might have something that can help you. So I don't mind doing introductions, but I protect my credibility just between recommendation and refer. Number 8, we're almost done. This will go a little quicker. Take meeting up. Go ahead, Hillary. I'm ready.
So with the phone call one, what if you get their answering machine? I mean, do you hang up or do you leave a message?
A lot of times I'll leave a message, but it'll still be that same kind of message that says, this is Steve and Meade. I got your name and number from Norm. He thought we could talk about something. If you've got 2 minutes, I'd love for you to give me a call back here. And I always say, if you've got 2 minutes, if you've got a few minutes, I want them to know that it's respectful of their time and can bracket. I mean, I've had 30-minute and hour-long conversations, but I'll still leave a message. Because otherwise, with caller ID now, they're like, oh, this person calling you didn't leave a message. And then the next time you call, then so if you get a message, an answer machine, just leave it, but it's still in that sequence. All right? Take meetings early and often. This one's huge. Like for us with companies like Magmo, right? Anybody remember what Magmo is? It's Instagram on
Steroids.
Yeah, see, that's all I need you to remember. Our model for that is we're going after huge brands. So we've been taking meetings for a product that hasn't even launched for about 2 years. I've been in front of NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, 4 owners of baseball teams. I mean, we're in front of huge people because that's my market. But I'm taking those meetings early saying, hey, here's what we're building. What do you think? Why won't it work? What am I missing? Is this something you would use one day? What's our competition like? How many other people are out there? What would you need us to grow up to be one day to one day do business with you? Right? So I'm taking meetings early and often. And some of this I learned early on. Years ago, I was trying to do a deal with Microsoft. And a friend of mine, he's actually one of our advisors. He's been an advisor on the last 3 companies. His name's Neil Bernstein. He's chief of staff of Microsoft. And at one point, because I learned all this was in my, 20s or 30s probably. And I'm like, Neil, what would it take to do business with Microsoft? What do we need to do? And he said, hey, kid, because at least get a company email. I'm like, what do you mean? I had an email address at the time was Yahoo. And we had a company, we hadn't even taken the steps to even establish a company email. And he's like, I can't even take you seriously if you don't even have an, because I can't even introduce you in Microsoft with a Yahoo email. Oh, great. Made a phone call, 24 hours later we had a company. It was stuff I never thought about. Right? But taking meetings early and often, I do this a lot again with entertainment where, I've introduced friends into CAA and into William Morris and stuff. And they're like, oh, well, my manager says, I need to wait until I have more. Like, more what? Oh, well, I need more credits. Which credits? Well, I need a better reel. Well, what do you need on your reel? Well, I just need more. It's like they're waiting for something, and they don't know what that something is. My philosophy is if you can get a meeting with somebody at any level, even if you're not ready, take the meeting. But take it in a position of humility, saying, hey, I haven't even graduated from USC yet, but one day I'd love to be, the best. Who's the best editors right now? Like, any idea? Who are the top 3? Oh, I don't know.
Well, Margaret Simpson just won an Academy Award. Does that count?
Sure. I want to be like Margaret, and I want to win a cap. If you had a chance to meet with, is it a her? Margaret? You had a chance to meet with her, take it. But take it in a sense of saying, here's what I'm doing through school, and, in your opinion, based on this stage of my career, like, what are the 2 or 3 things I should focus on? If you were in my position, what would you tell me to do? There's a difference between doing that and going and saying, can I have a job? I'd love to work for you. It's just in how you approach the meetings that ingratiate people to wanting to help you. So take meetings early and often is a huge one. But if you had a meeting with somebody, let's say it was with Margaret, who just won an Oscar for which movie?
Mad Max. Here we
What
go.
is the deal with that movie?
It's awesome.
I tried to watch it, I just don't get it. It won like,
You know, I like you anyway, Steve.
thank you. I did, I tried to watch it, I just didn't get it. It won all these awards.
Okay, Tom McArdle Spotlight. Is that better for you?
I didn't watch that one either. I don't watch a lot of movies, so I apologize. All right, so she just won for Mad Max. Here's my point. Who would want to meet with her? Everybody would, right? So let's pick somebody ahead in here. What's your name?
Josh.
Josh, if you had a meeting with Margaret, what do you think is the one question that almost never gets asked of anybody in a position of power?
What do you
Almost.
want?
What can I do to help you, right? Who's going to ask Margaret? She just won an Oscar, right? You guys are just in school. Position of power, the question almost never gets asked. Well, thank you, Margaret, but what can I do to help you? And if any of you ask that after I've talked to you today, you need to be slapped. Not slapped, that's on tape. You need to be shaken. The reason is, it's a great question to ask and almost nobody ever asks it, but it's the absolute wrong question to ask and it's the wrong way to ask it. Right? The mind doesn't think that way. If you ask Margaret, oh, well, what can I do to help you? Oh, nothing, I've got so much on my plate. No, this has been great, thank you. You have to rephrase it again, right? Isolation is a good thing. Our mind sequences down. The right way to ask a question of somebody in power is the following. Margaret, thank you so much. It's been amazing. I really appreciate your time. With everything you're working on, what are the top 2 or 3 biggest problems you think you'll have this year? Margaret, I really appreciate your time. You just won an Oscar. That's great. Coming up this year, what are the 1 or 2 things you're most passionate about? Outside of everything entertainment-wise, Margaret, what are the 1 or 2 things that you'd love to do that you've never done before? It's always what are the 1 or 2 or 2 or 3. You're going to ask that person, what are the 1 or 2 X? And that X could be, what are you most passionate about? What is your biggest problem? What do you do outside of work? If it's anything other than, if it's just what do you do, it's too broad. Our mind can't focus. What are the 1 or 2? And we're taught that, 1 or 2 what? Our mind's already trying to keep up. What are the 1 or 2 or 2 or 3 X? And that X could be whatever comes out of the tenor of that conversation. Does that make a little sense? All right, I'll give you guys an example. This one's entertainment related, actually. A friend of mine years ago, gosh, I don't know how many years, time flies. I know LA's weird because there's no sense of seasons, right? In Chicago, we got seasons. I know how long years have been.
All of them, yeah.
Here, it's like the Truman Show. Every day, they cue the cloud at 11:30 and it rolls across. And it's like there's no season, so I don't know how long time has been. But years ago, a friend of mine, Courtney, was chief of staff of NASA. 4 presidential administrations. He was the key conduit between 4 presidents, between NASA and the president. Tremendous position of power. Great secrets. Crazy secrets. Stuff on Mars, pyramids, crazy stuff. Courtney and I had great conversations. But years ago, we were doing a deal with the government, and Courtney had been a huge help, and I knew how to do this, and I stopped at him at one point. I said, Courtney, do me a favor. Let's put the government stuff aside. Outside of work, what are the 1 or 2 things you're most passionate about? What's really driving you passionately that isn't work related? Again, I was just curious. And the story, which half the time I can't always get through. You've heard me tell this one, right? I can't. This one's tough. He goes, it's an interesting question. He goes, let me tell you about it. And if I bungle this, I'm not religious, so I'm paraphrasing the story. But he goes, years ago, in the concentration camps during the war, the Jewish rabbis smuggled in a Torah. It's a little religious document. And they used that Torah to pray every day, and they knew if they got caught, they would be killed. And for years, that was the only thing that kept them going. And when the war was over, the Torah was smuggled back out, and it's a very famous Jewish artifact. He goes, and I had the power to help, do something with it, and we put it in the space shuttle and took it up with the first Israeli astronaut ever to get it as close to God as possible. I'm listening, I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. He goes, yeah, and it was the Challenger, and the Challenger blew up. He goes, and I'm working on a project called the Tiny Torah. He goes, I don't know anything about entertainment, but I'd love to figure out how to get this movie done, and that's what I'm passionate about. And I'm sitting here going, I don't know anything about religion, but I knew the guys who did Passion of the Christ with Mel Gibson. I met them through some other stuff. I knew 4 guys with Film Finance. I'm like, well, Courtney, just let me see if I can help you. I don't want to be in entertainment, but sounds like a cool project. Let me see if I can help. And I ended up helping him, and it took him 3.5 or 4 years, and the movie got done. It's one called The Tiny Torah. I don't remember the name. But there's a whole documentary that was done. So the film got done 5 years later, but 3 or 4 of the people I sent him helped him get it done. Right? Now, knowing what I know now, I would have asked for executive producer credits and a bunch of other stuff. But back then I didn't know. I'm like, here, just let me help you because you're helping me do another deal. But my point is, I didn't say, what can I do to help? I was very specific, and it was something outside of work that he was passionate about that I helped him get accomplished. Right? I have friends like that who I've helped that can help me when I need things as well. So it's not all, how can I manipulate them? How can I help them? So the better way to ask questions is, what are the 1 or 2 or 2 or 3 things that are X?